How's it howling, everyone? Vin Wolf here, and today we're gonna make some sweet music as we talk about another new contender potential for Super Smash Brothers. Because apparently I haven't done enough of those. So today we're talking about possibly one of the most kind of out there picks that I've heard, and yet a lot of people really want this guy. And girl. Because, I mean, it's both. We're talking about a guy and a girl. This isn't some weird... So yeah, today we are talking about Banjo and Kazooie. If everything I say and the thumbnail didn't totally give it away, now you know. The more you know. Banjo is easily competing with Gino when it comes to the number of people requesting this old, kind of out from left field character. I mean, shoot, even Nintendo Life seems to think he's going to be in the game. Unfortunately, I've never had the pleasure of playing a Banjo Kazooie game. When I was growing up, I had a PlayStation 1, so Spyro, Crash, Ape Escape, that was more my scene. So in this video, I won't be speculating any potential movesets. It just doesn't feel right for me as an outsider looking in to think about what they could or couldn't do. And yeah, I know I could go through and I could do a whole bunch of research and say, hey, these are things I think would be great, but it just would feel kind of, I don't know, hypocritical. It just doesn't sit right with me. What I will do, however, is lay out all the evidence I've cobbled together to present an educated opinion on whether or not Banjo and Kazooie will make it in or not. So basically the same thing I've done for every other character I've talked about on this channel. And with that, let's begin with everything Banjo has going for him. First of all, he's been a fan request for years now, and doubtless did incredibly well on the Smash ballot. As Nintendo seems to be pulling a lot from the Smash ballot, I mean, just look at Ridley and King K. Rool, this is a massive check in Banjo's box. Supposedly, Banjo was even considered as a character for Melee before Rare was Supposedly, Banjo was even considered as a character for Super Smash Bros. Melee before Rare Software was bought by Microsoft. This little tidbit is hard to ignore if that point is true, but take it with a grain of salt. I've stumbled across speculations that this was the case, but no solid evidence has ever revealed itself to confirm it. While I generally don't subscribe to leakers, save for one incredibly notable exception, the Bird and Bear has been in quite a large number of leaks from the community. I mean, if nothing else, it definitely shows fan demand for this character is incredibly high. Since I also mentioned that Banjo Kazooie's gaming company, Rare Software, was bought out by Microsoft, that would seem like a big hurdle for Banjo to jump over. However, it's really not. Nintendo has a cross-play feature going on with Microsoft for Minecraft, so business relationships are probably pretty good. Now, granted, Microsoft didn't exactly have a whole lot of choice on the matter since PS4 has absolutely crushed them in the console war this generation. So this may not be a business relationship based on desire, but necessity for Microsoft's gaming industry to keep going. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. Microsoft is also one of the few gaming companies to not have a rep in the game at this time. Sega, Konami, Capcom, Square Enix, Bandai Namco, some of the biggest names in the gaming industry, and they all have at least one representative, most of them two, and Konami has 3. For Sega, you're being represented by Sonic and Bayonetta. Konami has 3 representatives in Solid Snake, Simon, and Richter Belmont. Capcom has popped in Mega Man and Ryu for the mix, and Square Enix and Bandai Namco have both got 1 rep apiece in Cloud and Pac-Man. And Square Enix has even been heavily rumored to be getting another character, most likely in the form of either Gino or Sora. Bandai Namco hasn't exactly given us a whole lot to chew on as far as hints of what's to come for their character if they were to get a second one, and it doesn't look too likely they'll get one, as Sakurai did reveal in an interview that when they were looking over Bandai Namco characters for a second rep, there was literally nobody who stood out. Specifically, Sakurai pointed out Heihachi from the Tekken fighting game series, but said eventually that he just didn't fit into the mold that Smash Bros. Has. Now this is the ultimate Smash game, and that could certainly change if they decided to find a way to make Heihachi work, or if they decided to bring in Lloyd Irving from the Tales series. After all, both of these characters were costumes for Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. Anyway, let's stop talking about all these other characters and get back to the one we're mainly talking about. Banjo Kazooie was also developed by the guys at Rare Software, who have lent their talents to some other very notable games Nintendo has had as mainstays. For example, if I were to mention the franchises Donkey Kong Country or Star Fox, would that ring any bells for you? That's right, Rare Software has had big hands in these franchises. There's also the fact that a very knowledgeable gentleman named Phil Spencer, who, for those of you who don't know, is the Executive VP of Gaming for Microsoft, head of the Xbox brand, and leader of Microsoft Gaming's global creative and engineering teams. Ooh, I said that in one breath and I should not have done that. This massive deal when it comes to Microsoft's gaming division stated on Twitter that he would be happy to see Banjo in the game. And this actually kind of leaves me high and dry here. It obliterates most real criticisms that I can level at Banjo and Kazooie being in the game. For instance, take the fact that Banjo is kind of a defunct character at this point. It's kind of like the key issue facing Geno for Smash Brothers that I pointed out in that video. Other characters that are just more relevant for the company can be better used for advertising purposes if new games or projects are in development. Like I mentioned with Sora, his inclusion over Geno would make a whole lot of sense for Square Enix since Kingdom Hearts 3 will be coming out just a little bit after Super Smash Bros. Is released. And then when you toss in the fact that Microsoft owns so many well-known and recognizable titles like Killer Instinct, Gears of War, Minecraft, Battletoads, the ever-popular almighty Halo, there's just a whole lot of other games that could be represented in Super Smash Bros. That would not only fit, but fit well. You have a whole bunch of other characters that not only fit into Super Smash Bros., but could make for amazing advertising opportunity if utilized properly. But in one tweet, Phil Spencer has obliterated these arguments. Relevancy doesn't matter. First to Nintendo, and now to Microsoft. Even in the face of advertising Xbox exclusive characters. And this is kind of a big deal. This should be their top priority. Lack of exclusives is being cited as one of the biggest reasons why Sony's PS4 has done so much better. Just look at games like Gravity Rush, God of War, Persona 5, exclusives to Sony PlayStation's PS4 that Microsoft does not have. Of course, along that line of thought, I suppose that could mean that Banjo Kazooie is getting ready for a reboot. Not saying that is the case, but if Microsoft is so willing to put Banjo in Super Smash Bros. When they need to be advertising other games, I guess it's not impossible? Notice a key word that I use though. Phil Spencer's tweet obliterates most criticisms, not all of them. Just because Microsoft is willing to play ball and lend out its old IPs, doesn't mean Nintendo will be. And honestly, well, look at the third-party characters we've got. Of all these characters, Sonic, Snake, Mega Man, Pac-Man, Bayonetta, Cloud, Ryu, Simon and Richter Belmont, literally all of these characters, with the exception of our Konami reps, Snake and Simon and Richter, have games on the Nintendo Switch that are either current or on the way. Banjo may have had games on the 64 and even the Game Boy at one point, but the fact that Banjo is an Xbox exclusive may well hurt his chances. Now, of course, I recognize that Snake and the Belmonts are indeed major exceptions to this rule, and could be used to argue this the other way, but then that begs the question, how often will Nintendo be willing to include characters that are not on its platform? Still, this is admittedly a really small concern in the face of the sheer popularity Banjo seems to have from the Smash community. Given how influential the ballad is, this point is pretty much moot. So, what's my final thoughts? Well, I give Banjo a 70% chance. I definitely think there are going to be other priorities before Banjo gets in, and since he's a third-party character, it would make a lot more sense for Banjo and Kazooie to be introduced in the first wave of DLC fighters, so that dividing the profits between Nintendo and Microsoft can be a lot easier to discuss business-wise. Besides, if Banjo came as a DLC fighter, I don't care how much they're priced at, people will buy them, and both of these companies are bound to know this already. It's a lot easier for me to see Banjo and Kazooie getting in as a DLC while another possible Microsoft rep gets in the base roster. But we will discuss them another time. When it comes to popular characters, my opinions seem to be a bit, divisive. But hey, that's why we make these videos, right? That's why we talk, that's why we think, that's why we hopefully have rational discussion in the comment section below. Please don't murder me on the internet. Also, real quick before I go, I do want to say, yes, I know people have been requesting other fighters for me to cover. I'm working on that, and at this point, all of the fighters that you fans have been requesting of me to cover are probably going to get their own video. Now, I know my video release has been incredibly spotty since I started my new job. I am trying to get better, but I have good news. I'm going to open up my Twitter for all of you guys. Yay. Link is in the description if you want to follow me on Twitter, talk with me there. I also am going to start needing some new topics and ideas to discuss for videos because I am quickly running out of Smash topics to discuss. And yes, I have mentioned I am doing other content. For example, the Five Nights at Freddy's video, which at this point I may have to simplify the editing and animation I was working before because it's just taking so much time. And I would really like to have this ready for Halloween. So we'll see what happens there. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, let me know what you think about Banjo, making it in the comments below. And I shall see you all in the next video. But until then, of course, stay blessed, everyone.